Hello, welcome to Scotty's Playtime. I'm Scotty. This will be the fourth attempt to make this video, and I really hope everybody enjoys it because a lot of work has gone into it. It's going to be a kind of long video, and as always, it's not scripted. So I will mispronounce things, I will trip over my own words, and I will laugh at myself and admit it. Let's start with the program I'm using. I bought the Power Director, I forget the number of it. It's, I guess, the new one they have, and it comes with a lifetime license, so it's not a rental. I don't like having to pay for my programs yearly. I want to buy them and own them. Anyway, this program is a little bit different than the first Power Director I had. So I did a very long 40-minute video. I was very proud of it. It rendered incredibly quickly, and that should have been a sign to me. But when I played it back, it was horrible looking. It was fuzzy as heck. It was so low resolution that it was almost a crime. And I realized that there were a lot more camera settings than I found. So I had to go look for them and reset them. This was after spending an hour and a half trying to get the machine to see my cameras, because apparently this particular program required the cameras to be plugged in a certain way. I was running them all through a hub, and it didn't want them in a hub. It only wants each one individually into the computer. As I'm lucky to have the computer I'm using has 6 USBs in the back and 4 across the fronts. 2 on the top and 2 in the very front. Okay, so let's talk about last week, because if you follow my blog, you know last week was a total wash. I didn't get anything done, and there's a reason for that. What normally I do, another thing I need to tell you about this program is I cannot set the camera settings the way I normally do in other programs. So I normally reverse the look of the camera so that what's on my left, or my right, what's on my right is actually shown in the camera view. So if I look to my right on the camera, I'm looking right, and the stuff over here is over here. Looking at it now with this program, when I look right, it looks like I'm looking left. It just messes me up when I'm looking at it. I'm sure it doesn't make a difference to you, the viewer. And it probably looks normal to you because you're used to seeing cameras and videos filmed that way. Anyway, back to last week. It used to take me about 2 hours of just easy time to reload both computers. You simply back up everything you want, usually the day before, and then at that time that you pick, you just put the USB Windows 10 stick in, F12 on startup, so you get a boot menu, and just go through the steps. You wipe out, delete the old zero drive, and start a new one. It loads up the Windows program, and you go through your settings, and then you start the updates. updates started taking longer and longer and longer until they were like taking an entire day. Now they've I found a way to simplify that part of the problem. But let me explain what happens. This time I spent a day and got the blogging computer up, and it seemed to be going very well. The video computer, remember, I swapped them. So if it's easier for you, I will call the blogging computer the XPS and the video computer the Inspiron. Okay? So the XPS was coming along fine. And the Inspiron, though, kept having issues. And I couldn't understand why it was, but I'd get like the settings all done and do an update and then go to install a program. That program would work, but the next one I installed would not work properly in that. So dump it again, start again. The XPS, on the other hand, I downloaded everything I needed except the licensed programs. I've learned not to do that. Very tired, went to bed. Got up the next morning, all excited and ready to use the new computer and get the Inspiron ready. So this will be Tuesday. Turn on the XPS and nothing. Goes through the bio, and at the pass off to the hard drive, I get a message, no boot manager. No boot manager found. I turn on the Inspiron, it loads up, but I've still got a fault. So I dump them both. On this one, the XPS, I tried putting I tried fixing it using the USB Windows stick. I tried doing a startup repair, trying to do the boot table over and all that. Nothing. It wouldn't go. So I said, okay, now I'm into this for a couple hours. I delete all of the zero partition and go ahead and or the zero drive, the C drive, and do a fresh install. Set the settings, restart it, no boot manager. Something was keeping the computer from accepting a boot manager, and I had no idea what it was. But if I couldn't even install one, I was going to have to change that hard drive. And I didn't want to change that hard drive. It's $100 solid state, 1 terabyte drive. Or is it a $49? And I bought 2 of them. I don't know. Anyway, I got money invested in them. So I said, okay, let's do it this way. I put the USB stick in and went through the install program till I got to that point. And this time, when I deleted the entire C drive and all the different partitions Windows puts on it, because they put on like 5 partitions, system, reserve, all these other things, I created my own partition, primary partition, using the entire drive. And that worked. I installed it, went through the setup, pulled the USB, restarted it, worked great. Shut it down, let it stay down for 10 minutes, restarted it, started great. So on that one, I just had to load programs, and I started doing that. All good. Go back to the Inspiron. And so now it's late in the day. I've got the XPS up and running and functioning. The Inspiron is still a doorstop. and I'm using a little half functioning laptop. It is one that I rescued. Somebody, an elderly woman, didn't think it was working right anymore and that it had a malware on it because it was too slow. So she turned around and bought the same dang computer from QVC on TV, and she's proud of the amount of money. It was so inexpensive, Scotty. You wouldn't believe how well it was inexpensive because it's a cheap Celeron processor with no RAM. It's a piece of garbage, but it is the best working laptop I have. The other one is seriously older. So, okay, so I'm using that for what little things I need playing. But I'm using my Xbox and my TV to play YouTube. So I've got my needed inputs coming in so I don't go crazy. But again, I can't get this Inspiron to work properly. I get it loaded, it's coming up, and it won't talk. The Flow program I use from Logitech, because my Logitech mouse and keyboard do 3 computers each. The mouse and the keyboard can be tied to 3 computers, and they don't have to be the same ones. So like my mouse I normally tie to the XPS, the Inspiron, and a laptop. The keyboard I tie to the XPS, the Inspiron, and my phone for texting. But so now I'm 3 days into it. Wednesday morning, I reset Windows. This time, not using the USB stick, but I actually do a cloud download from Microsoft itself and reset Windows that way. All right, it worked. First program I put in was the Flow, the Logitech Options Plus, and it worked. I can now go back and forth by just moving my mouse to the edge of the screen, and it pops up on the other screen. Okay, I could do the same with the computer, but I don't, because I forget which one I have it set for, and I start typing and it messes up one or the other. So I don't do that anymore. I do it manually, that way I know which one I have it set for. Alright, so that's Wednesday. XPS is pretty much finalized. Even the licensed programs are in. I feel great. Thursday morning I'm going to start recording and do videos and have a great time. The Inspiron is slowly being loaded up. It should all be done Thursday morning and my world be back to normal. But it wasn't going to be that way. What can I say? It's my life. So, get up Thursday morning and I am in agony. I can't walk. And this time it's from a new place of pain I've not had before. Ooh, we bought a new coffee setup and I just made that way too sugary, that cup of coffee. Anyway, so I go ahead and try to walk to the bathroom and I can't put my foot down. So I have a walker in the bedroom for this. I use my walker, go to the bathroom, come back, and realize I can't lift my right knee up. I can't raise it up in front of me. And I'm thinking, what the heck? Well, I have an artificial hip in both my right hip and my left hip. In 2004, I had a hip replaced by the VA. I was unemployed because I had lost my hip bone. The entire thing had collapsed. And you know how your leg comes up and then you've got thin bone joint that angles from your leg to your hip, and then on the end of that you got this round ball. That ball goes into the hip socket. Well, this whole part on me was from here up had decided to take a vacation and go away. All due to my abuse. My first surgeon looked at my bone scans and all the rest of the stuff, the MRIs and all that stuff, and he said to me, "You were badly abused as a kid, weren't you?" And I was flabbergasted. I hadn't ever talked to anybody about it, not even Ron. And I said, "Yeah." I said, "How do you know?" He says, "It's written in your bones." And that started my lifelong problem with decaying bones, malformed bones, and that stuff I had, but I never knew, and I just ignored it because I didn't have medical coverage and all that stuff. So, the surgeon I had, it was a brand new VA hospital in West Palm Beach, Florida, and it was gorgeous. It was beautiful, and they did everything for me. I have to admit, I couldn't have asked for mostly better care for all except one thing. I mean, they got me a scooter, a wheelchair, walkers, everything I needed. They came into the house. They did up the bathroom better for me. They built a ramp for the house, everything. You know, the VA just went all out. But this was back in 1996. And so my surgeon that I had when I first started in 96 left. And now 2004, I need the operation. And the new surgeon I was given to do the operation. He wasn't my normal orthopedic doctor. He was in his mid-70s. He was like 75. And he was doing his duty to God and country. And we know this because he made sure everybody knew he was called by God to stay at the VA and do these surgeries for them soldiers. And I guess he's a nice man. I don't fault anybody for their religious beliefs if they don't harm others. And he really wasn't harming others, but in his office with me there, he would play his Christian music, his Christian radio. He had Christian posters and signs and everything all over his office. It did make me feel uncomfortable, but different time and I wasn't in a position to say much. I should have asked for a different surgeon if possible, because his age made it so he flailed me. He flayed me wide open in my butt. He gave me a nice 14-inch scar. He went right around my buttocks and took a chunk of my butt muscle, cut through it, and took a bunch of it away. So my butt comes rounded and then dips in, has a nice little valley where this scar is, and then comes out and rounds down into the crack of my butt, into my crack of my, where you know the crack is. And that chunk of muscle, now that we've tried to start walking and we're improving, is not responding well. And during the day, if I try to stand and do the dishes and that, it gets so super painful I have to take a lot of meds. But during the night when I'm sleeping and resting, something happens. So that if I don't get up about 2 in the morning and take medication, then when I do get up, I can't walk, I can't bend over. Um, so like for example, this morning I got up at 2:21 and took the meds. At 3 o'clock, realizing I wasn't going to sleep, I got up. Now I could stump walk around, but I went to bend over to clean the cat boxes, and the pain was so intense I thought I was going to pass out. So even trying to sit in my chair, to bend my legs to sit, was an incredibly painful process. So anyway, Thursday morning, that was the situation. In order to try to combat this, I took a lot of meds. And then I took more meds, and then I took more meds in a short period of time. I took my emergency medications that the doctor says use for breakthrough when nothing else is working. That medication usually makes me so tired, so sleepy, I can't stay up. And it did. So a little afternoon around, I don't know, 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Thursday, I went to bed and I was there until about 2 o'clock Friday morning. At which time Friday morning, I got up and went to the bathroom and threw up. And then I sat on the toilet and had diarrhea. And so for the next, 4 hours or so, it was 5 hours till about 6 o'clock, I alternated throwing up and having diarrhea, throwing up and having diarrhea. But I got myself under control enough that I went out and at 10 o'clock received my allergy shots and came home. The rest of the day was not a fun day for me, but I made it okay. The computers were doing great, but I wasn't and didn't feel like getting much done. Saturday, I was starting to go into allergic reactions from my shots. It happens. If I make too big a deal of it, they back my shots way off and they don't help me. But if I don't say anything the first 2 to 3 days after getting them, I start to itch and all that stuff. Have, I just have reactions from it. Sinuses go crazy, and my body, I feel like I have ants and that crawling all over me. I'll develop some small welts and hives. So anyway, that was going on. Monday morning, I had to go to different pharmacies to start getting a new prescription set up, because my old one, the pharmacy I have in Love, the not them, but the upper company is messing with testosterone, with my testosterone. And it's all about the red state panic over the trans people getting testosterone. I'm not trans, as you can see. I'm not even girly looking. And even when I had my long hair, I would have been a pretty homely woman. Now, maybe when I was young, I could have done something. I know once when I was in the theater, we had a makeup artist come in and use me as a demonstration and made me a very pretty girl. And I felt like it. little joke there. So anyway, and it was little. I I had to do that. So in the afternoon, I watched Sam Cedar and I started getting things done. I started working on the program for the. What am I trying to say? My tongue just died and my brain with it. The memes. I missed my Friday memes post and I wanted to make sure I gathered some for this Friday. And that leads to last night. Yesterday, Tuesday, we got up and we had to try to find the last pharmacy. It said it was really close. It turned out it's quite a distance away. It's not a fun travel. And we got there and it was so packed. We just said, let's go home. But we still had to go to the one I picked out, which was closer because we had to get groceries. So, came home. I did dishes. Ron wasn't feeling well, so he slept most of the day. And then, late at night, I started trying to do a video, as I explained to you at the start of this video. That brings us full circle. So now, I'm trying to finish this video, and I hope to do many more in the future. Hopefully, not any of them will be this long. Thank you very much. This is Scotty's Playtime. I'm Scotty. As always, best wishes for everyone and hugs for those who'd like them.